Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time to look at the December 2024 ComicConnect event auction results. So I previewed this a little bit, a few weeks ago, and of course the auction ended, and here we are, and we've got some results to look at, and it'll be fun. So let's get started. Action number one, CGC 9.0 Restored. As I mentioned in the preview, the other restored 9.0 sold for $452,000 in 2021, which was kind of the hype, era. Biggest sales were happening, crazy records were being set left and right. So that this one got almost $800,000, really crushed it. $794,650 total. Just a great result. Really, really, they must have been pretty happy with this one. I don't know what to expect with restored books. I don't know what to expect when the only comparable you have is a book that sold in 2021. But I think that any way you slice it, this is a pretty good result. So as I mentioned in the preview, this copy sold for $270,000. Speaking of books that sold during the hype era, this copy sold for $270,000 in March of 2022 at ComicConnect. Then sold for $156,000 in April of this year, 2024. $150,000 loss or so. And now it's gone for $120,000. So this has happened before. So please tell me someone watching this video bought it and is going to covet this book and hold on to it for a decade, because this is a great book. I don't see what's wrong with it. Really nice low-grade copy with a detached cover. So what the hell? Go for it. John Byrne, Captain America 252 interior page. I talked about how much I loved Captain America, John Byrne. Original art is not my forte. I just love it. I love comics, so I like to talk about it. But I do have opinions. They're either right or wrong. But this is like prime era John Byrne with an Avenger, Captain America, who's like kind of the Avenger in every panel, and it sells for less than $10,000. Sometimes I just don't know about original art, right? But that seems like a nice pickup. An X-Men page from the same era would be could be 10 times that or more, right? Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight, number 33 cover, $20,700 for this cover. Sienkiewicz is awesome. All-American Comics number 16, CGC VG Fine 5.0. Great looking book, as I mentioned. Also, as I mentioned, another 5.0 restored, sold for around $50,000 earlier this year. So $46,000 is kind of in line with what you would expect for this book. So again, hopefully somebody watching this bought it, because I really like this one. And I'm not even, like I said, I am a Hal Jordan Green Lantern fan, but I have suddenly become enamored with All-American 16. Batman 423 CGC 9.8. I guess I killed this book by mentioning it. That's how much power this channel has already. You don't buy that one? I don't buy it either. But seriously, this book is like $1,500, except for when I mention it in a preview video, and it sells for $1,150. So it's still a classic cover. I mean, maybe somebody got spooked by the fact that it's slightly miswrapped, like you have that black edge on the left. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. Soft result, Captain America 109, CGC 9.8. A 9.8 sold for $3,000, more than $3,000 earlier in 2024. I still love this book. And actually, I can't see much wrong with this. I mean, I guess you could find a slightly whiter copy, but otherwise, this is a really nice copy of this book. So I'm disappointed for the consigner. And yeah, Catman. So this is officially an affordable classic cover that I've talked about a lot, so I must be a fan at some level. So I guess I'm buying one. I guess, I don't know. I think this is the first book on my new want list. You heard it here first. Marvel Mystery Comics number 2. I just noticed, so I sometimes look up previous prices. Sometimes I just talk about what's in front of me. when doing these previews. But always when I'm reviewing the value of something that's sold, I look at GPA to see what, how it stacks up, unless I know off the top of my head, which I do for some books. So I just noticed that this book sold at Heritage in 2023 for $26,400. So this is a bad result. It's actually in line with what a 6.0 sold for at Heritage in November of 2024, $28,800. So $16,000 is roughly half, which is kind of that rough approximation you make between like a 4.0 and a 6.0, a 6.0 and an 8.0, and then the individual ticks from like 9.0 up to mint, I guess. So that other result, the 2023 result, might kind of be an outlier, because this one fits in with the 28,000 from November. So I don't know. But again, I'm not like the biggest expert on Marvel Mystery Comics #2. All I know is that the consigner took a bath on this one. So sorry for you, if it's you. Okay, so this is a bummer. Master Comics #10, CGC 9.8. This book is no longer listed. So it didn't sell. I don't know. I wasn't actively watching this in the auction. I knew what I was going to cover when the auction ended, and I just expected to see some crazy result for this book. And it's no longer listed. Like if you click through, there's no page there. It's just a 404, which is a bummer. So we don't know what this one would have sold for. We do know what Master Comics #7 Edgar Church copy CGC 9.4 would sell for, because it sold. So it sold for $11,500. Is that a good price, a bad price? I have no idea. It's basically unique. It's like a unicorn. I think it's probably a pretty good price, and kind of indicates like what the top end might be, right? Like it might have gone kind of crazy into that $30,000, $40,000 range. I don't know for the 9.8. #10, but we'll never know. Or maybe we will know someday, but we don't know now because the book never sold, sadly. And another rarity, Master Comics #8, Edgar Church copy, CGC 9.4, $8,280. Again, there's no comparables for this. It's a gazillion dollars more than the next previous copy sold for. It is an indication that there is some like real demand for these books. And again, I wish I knew what these higher graded ones sold for. So Master Comics #9, CGC 9.6, Edgar Church copy disappeared from the auction. So I don't know what happened. Doesn't really matter. Things happen. Somebody might have gotten cold feet and said, you know what? I'm never going to be able to replace this. So I'm not selling these. These are rarities. Maybe somebody watching this video was like, you know what? Rob pointed out how rare these are. I should keep them. Again, it's probably not my fault, but it's unfortunate because I was really interested to see where these would go, because you just don't know when something is this rare. You just don't know what it's going to sell for, and they can be shocking, the prices for some of these things. So. Unseen #5, CGC 6.5, sold for $754.40. That's that buyer's premium sneaking in. Again, I didn't notice how much this copy had sold for previously when I did the preview. This is the Bethlehem copy, so it's easy to track. This copy sold for $1,300 in March of 2022, so not a great result. Whiz Comics #1, CGC 4.0. I was disappointed with this one. It's weak relative to previous results, in this grade and near grades over the past couple of years. So this copy, the specific copy, sold for $105,000, $105,800 at ComicConnect in March of 2022. So this isn't a great result for the consigner. Heritage sold the same 3.5 copy. So it was sold twice. January 14th, 2021, it sold for $72,000. So nearly this, right, for a half grade lower. And then in 2020, and that was in 2021, right? So hype era. 2023, that 3.5 resold, great result for the consigner, $120,000. So even with buyer's premium and seller's commission and all that kind of stuff, that's a decent return for 2 years on the dot. And then a Heritage sold a 3.0 in March of 2023 for $96,000. So $77,000 for a 4.0 is a bummer. Nice looking book. So someone really got a bargain. And again, I hope this one like gets stored away for a little while. So let's see. It's this book. I dig this book, but it was mostly about the anecdote about how to. I mentioned it mostly, but in the anecdote about how every minor key can someday become a major key, and you can actually make some money on them. So it's sold for $184, which is kind of on the low end of where it sold this year, but within the realm of what it had been selling for. I love McNiven's art. $1,207 for this book. I don't know. I think one of the problems with this channel is it's going to make me create a want list. We've already gotten one. We got the Catman cover. I don't know. I mean, $1,000 for like a piece of McNiven's art, which I think is gorgeous, from a really important series that turned into a movie. Like, I don't know. I think that's a bargain. So this is not a bargain. So $59,800 for this Barry Windsor Smith Marvel Comics Presents number 75 interior page. I could have mentioned this in the preview, but I thought about it while I was looking at this auction. It's like Barry Windsor Smith is like actually underrated. If you're kind of a Bronze Age collector, you have the studio book. Hold on, I'll get it. I'm back. So if you've got the studio book in your bookshelf and you're big into Bernie Wrightson and Kaluta and all that kind of stuff, and Barry Windsor Smith, then you can barely think that he's underrated. Jeffrey Catherine Jones, sorry, to mention the full studio roster. But really, he's more influential than I think people recognize these days, because he's just not as active right now as he once was. His own career is crazy. So the Conan and this series, Marvel Comics Presents, Wolverine, kind of the first teaser of his origin, random like Machine Man issues and X-Men one-shots in the middle of the runs. It's just classic art, all the way through the 90s. And that art had incredible influence, right? Like, comics today wouldn't look the same if we didn't have Barry Windsor Smith. Neil Adams was a bigger influence, like, at the time in the 70s, because he changed art from being like John Romita and Kirby to being like very realistic and having this like advertising realism about it, right? And so in the 70s, Smith and Wrightson and those people weren't as influential as Neil Adams, because Neil Adams just kind of changed everything. But we wouldn't have Image Comics without Barry Windsor Smith. Look at Jim Lee, Scott Williams, that, mega team, and other people, Rob Liefeld, etc. Like, you can see Barry Windsor Smith in them. And there's a reason, that, like, he was still popular. He was still doing the Valiant stuff, and at that era, he just fit right in. And I just don't think he gets the credit he deserves. So maybe that's one of the things I'm going to do on this channel, is talk about Barry Windsor Smith. So there we go. And then finally, a good result. So Detective Comics number 1, CGC 3.0. This feels, like I said, like a good result. $74,001. A 5.0 sold for $100,000, over $100,000 in 2022. So $74,000 right now for a 3.0 feels strong. So yeah, and I love Detective Comics number 1, as anyone that's been watching the channel for a while will know, because I talk about it whenever I get the chance. And with that, this is a quick one, relative to the some of the other previews and reviews I've done recently. And with that, we're done. I'll be back after Christmas. It's recording this. It's December 22nd, 2024. So I'll be back after Christmas with the first of my deep dives into the Silver Age pedigree keys with Adventure 247. Thanks again. If you haven't, please subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you like in this auction. Tell me that you bought one of these books that I thought was a bargain and it's going to a good home, because that always makes me really happy. And I'll see you in the next one.